Thank you, Sam, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us here. I'm looking at the faces that we did not have on our site visit. So thank you so much for being here. We will make sure next time you are part of the delegation, but we promise to take you to a more fun place next time. I think the first thing is that we all know the members of the Mayoral Committee. We are missing two, one for community safety and corporate and shared services. But all the questions that you have, even when it comes to their portfolios, we'll be able to cover them. So don't hold back if you have questions that belong to other portfolios. But we are here with my colleagues. Following this multi-party coalition's government made a State of the City address and budget speech for the 2025-2026 financial year, it remains important that we engage our residents on the ongoing work to give effect to the State of the Capital Address and draft budget so that these are not pipe dreams but become the reality of the city and its people. To that end, this administration continues to take bold steps towards institutional stabilization, ethical governance, and the accelerated delivery of quality services to our residents. This feedback session outlines key decisions, program updates, and progress indicators reflective of this administration's commitment to building a functional, inclusive, and investor-confident metropolitan municipality. This report back provides an update on our compliance with court orders, measures taken to improve service delivery and infrastructure, and new institutional mechanisms being introduced to address legacy issues while paving the way for a sustainable and prosperous future. I would like to give you an update on the court order on salary backlogs. On 9 May 2025, the Labour Court granted the city an exemption from implementing the 5.4% wage increase while referring the matter of the 3.5% increase for the 2021-2022 financial year back to the South African Local Government Bargaining Council for a new determination. Following this ruling, the administration met with the Tshwane chapters of the South African Municipal Workers Union, SAMU, and the Independent Municipal and Allied Trade Union, IMADU, to ventilate the recent Labour Court ruling relating to the city's request for exemption from the agreed wage increases. The meeting was constructive and solution-orientated. All parties acknowledged the strain the ongoing wage dispute has placed on municipal employees. The city reaffirmed its appreciation for the dedication of its workforce and its commitment to working collaboratively with organized labor to find a fair and sustainable resolution. We'll make every effort to engage all stakeholders to find an equitable solution for all parties involved. It is within the spirit that the parties agreed to invoke the provisions of Section 150 of the Labour Relations Act and engage in a CCMA-facilitated mediation process to resolve the matter of the 3.5% salary increase. All parties affirmed that mediation offers the best opportunity to reach a mutually beneficial outcome in a timely manner. It must be noted that while agreeing to participate in the mediation process in good faith, IMADU and SAMU also expressed their disappointments with the court's ruling on the 5.4% increase. Both unions indicated that they reserve the right to appeal the judgment pending further engagement with their members. However, we are encouraged by all the parties' commitment to ongoing open and transparent dialogue in the best interest of organized labor and the continued provision of service delivery to the residents of Tshwane. I now move to updates on consequence management. Since the last report on the progress that we've made on consequence management, the city has made significant strides in strengthening political oversight and processes to ensure that the concerns raised by the Auditor General of South Africa are addressed decisively. This intensified political scrutiny has already resulted in 11.7 billion rands of unauthorized, irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure investigations being completed this financial year alone. We're expecting to conclude further 1 billion rand or more worth of UIFW's expenditure by the end of 2024-2025. The balance at the beginning of the financial year was at 13 billion rands. So we have been able to reduce that balance now by end of the financial year by 12.7 billion rand. This is leaps and bounds ahead when compared to the mere 1.2 billion worth investigated in the previous financial year. This has positioned the city to comply with commitments to the AG, SA and National Treasury in respect of reducing historic UIFW balances. Further to this, 349 instances where disciplinary action has been recommended against officials. These 349 cases is up from 126 that we reported in February. There are 44 cases that have been referred for criminal prosecution. In February, this number was at 39. There is now over 900 cases that have been referred to the Financial Disciplinary Board, and in February these cases were only at 17. There are 85 officials that have been dismissed. In February we reported 77. These dismissals range from sexual harassment, rape, to fraud and corruption, bribery, theft, and dereliction of duty. We will be referring a former Section 79 chairperson to the Speaker's Office for investigation for the violation of the city's procurement policies as well as the Systems Act. The said councillor issued a letter giving permission to a private company to make use of our outdoor advertising space, which is outside our procurement processes. And I'm very happy to announce that there's been a pending matter of Refilwe and Caledonian, where last year we announced that we have asked for an investigation into the matter with all the millions lost. Who is responsible for the fact that the Refilwe Stadium and Caledonian were not completed in terms of the officials? The company was terminated, but the officials were still in the office. I'm happy to announce the investigation was concluded, and there are 5 officials that have been issued with letters of intention to suspend. We previously updated about the 8 companies, and this is the first time the city is doing it, so it's important that we keep the residents updated. There are 8 companies that are currently in the process of being submitted to the National Treasury for blacklisting and restriction by the city. And these are the companies that have been terminated for poor performance or contravention of the contract they have with the city. The city has on several occasions made attempts to hand deliver letters of intent to restrict or blacklist in accordance with National Treasury prescripts. However, these attempts have been unsuccessful, as the contractors have since vacated the addresses that we have. Upon legal advice, the city will proceed with steps to have these companies blacklisted in absentia and restore integrity of our panel of service providers. Furthermore, the city has committed to transparent timelines for concluding investigations and implementing financial consequences where necessary. In support of our drive for better governance, this budget allocates additional resources to group audit and risk, with 36 million rand has been set aside for forensic investigations in our fight against corruption. These investments will support the implementation of the audit outcome remedial action plan and help address the concerns raised by the Auditor General of South Africa. Our focus remains on cultivating a public service that is accountable, values-driven, and performance-oriented. The third area I want to update on is on illegal townships and land use management. The city has to date identified 17 townships and developments that have been established unlawfully within its boundaries. These developments, some initiated on council-owned land and others on private property, and others on other government's property, have occurred outside the legal framework governing township establishment. In response to these developments, on 14th May 2025, the Mayoral Committee resolved to establish a mayoral subcommittee tasked with developing a holistic policy framework to address and prevent illegal township establishments in the future. The Mayoral Subcommittee, chaired by MMC for Human Settlements, had its inaugural meeting on 19th May 2025 to engage on its terms of reference and will meet bi-weekly with a regular progress report submitted to the Mayoral Committee. The terms of reference guiding this work will be reviewed and updated as necessary to ensure an effective response to this phenomenon. These unlawful developments include, I will list all 17 of them, because we normally focus on the ones that are in the news a lot, but there's 7, so I will list them. The first one is Elands Fontaine Plots, Molodo City, Mooikloof, also known as Twee Fontaine, Volmaster. There's Kleinfontein 1 and 2. There's Hakorin Boom. There's Marula View. There's Moshate Gardens. There's Luefontein 1, 2, and 3. There's Ondesteport. Yes. There's Medlid, Prestige, Kudube, and Rapua View. So those are the 17 illegal townships that we will be working with. In many instances, formal township applications were not lodged, environmental and planning approvals were bypassed, and no provision was made for critical bulk infrastructure or rudimentary services. This results in poor spatial integration, increased pressure on already strained municipal infrastructure, illegal connections, and safety concerns. This administration recognized the socio-economic complexities that drive illegal land occupation, and this administration is determined to deliver integrated human settlements and affordable housing opportunity. We will achieve this through formal processes that ensure compliance with safety, environmental, and infrastructural standards. I will now move on update on service delivery acceleration. I want to start with our efforts to build our fleet capacity. Building the city's internal capacity generally is a crucial part of accelerating services. We have announced that from the side of bylaw enforcement, we will be recruiting 200 new TMPD officers starting in July 2025. The TMPD department has not recruited since 2015. You can just imagine the vacancies that have been there due to resignations, dismissals, natural attritions, and all that. So we will be starting with 200, and every year, even during the adjustment budget, if we see that the resources are there, we will be adding so that we can beef up our TMPD. But when it comes to fleet, we obviously need to give the employees the tools of trade. And so in this financial year, we have been able to add 120 vehicles to our fleet. 64 of those have gone to TMPD, 10 have gone to Group Financial Services Revenue Collection, Tshwane Dima. ROC, which is the regional operations, have so far received 31. Emergency Services Department have received 11, and the corporate pool has received 4. This is up to date. And so obviously we want to give the tools of trade to the colleagues to do the work. But what is important in us building our internal capacity is that we want to reduce the leasing cost by decreasing the number of vehicles outsourced to the service providers and increasing the number of vehicles owned by the city. And there's already a budget of 25 million rand that is allocated. The other portion is allocated in us purchasing our own water trucks, and the other for waste trucks that will be owned by the city. Now, I would like to move to energy and electricity. We have spoken about the social movement upgrade at IA substation. The community had suffered for years because we kept hoping that the JJ line will be the silver bullet to resolve the issues of electricity stability in social movement. The community has been subjected to load reduction, load rotation, no electricity for days for far too long. We made a decision to move funds around in December already to upgrade IA substation. And you will recall that we keep saying we don't want forgotten communities in the city. We have started the upgrades, and the upgrades of the substation itself was completed a month ahead of schedule. And then we had to start with the reticulation project. We are complete, so BB and DD. So I'm happy to announce that the DD reticulation project finished 2 weeks ago. And we then started with the BB. So people of DD are very happy. They even had issues with electricity now that the project is completed on their side. We were on site with BB 2 or 3 days ago, and at the time they were at 55%. So the community of BB Social Movement will also have a stable electricity supply by end of May. The next one is Jubule, which is another one where we even considering continuing the load reduction, even though we will be doing with the reduced hours. So the community of social movement was also, from our part, was a demonstration of what leadership can do when we are decisive in responding to the issues that affect communities. Then we currently have a substation that is out, Zwartko. The past 6 months we have been under siege. Our infrastructure is under attack, especially electricity infrastructure. We have suffered, 6 substations have suffered fires just in a space of 6 months. And the situation is not normal. We are raising an alarm even with our colleagues at national in terms of what needs to happen, because this is not a normal situation. Zwartkop is out. You know, a few weeks ago it was Brakfontein. At some point it was Pyramid. At some point it was Watlu, Nyala, Kwaha. It's not normal. These are primary substations that provide power to the majority of the residents in Tshwane. But what we have identified as this administration is the decision to withdraw security from our infrastructure a couple of years ago is now starting to bite us. Because the preliminary reports tell us that a person walks into our substation, cut a cable and leave, and we are left with a fire two hours later. So we have intensified our effort on how to protect our infrastructure, and that plan is currently underway, and we will be prioritizing the primary substations and secondary substations in terms of preventing, protecting our infrastructure. I just want to move to water infrastructure as part of the update. So the first one is Hammanskraal. Whenever you meet us, we will never not give you an update on Hammanskraal water. This is a national issue, and as the leadership, we must never appear as if we do not want or we're not committed to resolving the issue of Hammanskraal water. On Friday, the 16th of May, the Minister of Water and Sanitation, Honorable Majodina, and the Deputy Minister, Honorable Mahlobo, were with us on site to conduct an oversight visit on both the royal and the intervention. So just briefly, on the intervention package that is being built at Klipdrift, while we are behind schedule, what was communicated by Mayoral Water is that the communities that are supposed to receive water through the Module 2 will be able to receive that water end of June. We know it's behind schedule, but they have presented acceleration plans that the initial deadline was June 2025 to provide all the areas that are supposed to be provided through the Royval, that they will be provided through the package plant and have clean and drinkable water in their taps. That, in terms of what was presented, that deadline for all those areas combined now is going to be September 2025. But for now, we are focusing on the Module 2 areas that will receive water. So there is progress in terms of the package plant, and the delays were mainly caused by the rains. The continuous rains did affect construction in a big way. On the side of Royval, when we were on site and we're briefing you in February, we did say that the project was finished a month ahead of schedule. That allowed us to bring the next phase, which is 1B, 6 months ahead in terms of our plan. We're still on track in terms of achieving the deadline of June 2026, everything done. We have again allocated funds. Remember, there's 450 million that was committed over the MTREF over the 3 years. That money is still there. We have used 350 million so far. So we are on track, and the money spent and the outputs on site, they match. So we're quite comfortable that on the side of Hammanskraal will be fine. Ikageng is one of the areas that the people of Mamelodi have been without water for years. There's been progress, that there were areas that were restored, they are receiving water. Before, I think some of them, the last time they saw water in their taps was even before COVID. And so those areas, they've started receiving water, except for Ikageng, which is just a portion of those areas. We have moved funds again to make sure that the team can install a booster pump that will make sure that this community gets water. There's work that is being done in terms of the designs and the assessments that they are doing. And so once they are finished, then we'll be able to communicate the deadlines of the timelines for the project. The third area that we don't want to forget, because when we talk about Hammanskraal water in Ikageng, we forget the area of Bronco Street. For years, this community hasn't had reliable supply of water. And so during the adjustment budget, we allocated funds for the upgrade of the treatment plant there. The upgrades were finished and water was restored, but then there was a technical issue that the colleagues are busy, the teams are on the ground fixing that. And we are confident that once that work is done, that community of Ekangala, Ritabiseng, Bronco Street will have reliable supply of water. There is an element that we are working with the Department of Water and Sanitation on, which is the quality of water. We normally have a problem there when it's raining, then the color of water becomes, it looks dirty. But that's something that we must work with the minister on. Moving on under infrastructure, still roads and transport. You know that Tshwane recently has been very infamous for potholes. So to address the backlog of roads infrastructure that we need to work on, the MMC for Roads and Infrastructure has led us in a program of resurfacing, roads resurfacing. And this has happened in 4 regions so far, based on the funds that we had. These are region 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'll just mention in region 1, the areas that were covered is Soshanguve, Mabopane, and Harangua. And the roads that have been resurfaced, they cover wards 19, 21, 22, 26, 27, 30, 33, 36, 39, 88, and 89. That's on region 1 alone. In region 2, Hammanskraal, the resurfacing covered 5 wards, wards 13, 73, 74, 75, and 95. And this covers main arterial roads like Juba Road and the Matopo Garage entrance in Ward 13, which experience high volumes of traffic. In region 4, Oliven roads resurfacing has focused on Ward 77 and Ward 106 for the time being. This is because these wards have been neglected in the past and need urgent intervention. Ward 3, our resurfacing efforts will continue in Linwood Road, which will also aid our effort to improve our REM networks. So in addition to that, we have launched an accelerated plan on the pothole repairs. We always say to residents, the reason why we couldn't catch up was the rains. The rains have subsided, now we can go back to the roads. Every day our teams are on site dealing with the issue of potholes, and remember, as the city, we produce our own hot asphalt. So we don't have an excuse not to attend to the potholes, but obviously we will communicate with the residents as we come to their communities. On the side of service delivery generally, the progress that we have made, the last time that we spoke to you was in Feb. Since then, there's been work that was done. On water leaks, we were able to repair 7,853 since the last update we had with you. We were able to repair 3,698 potholes during the same period. We were able to repair 5,711 street lights. We were able to repair 231 high mast lights that Tswane people call them the Apollos. The Apollo, and we're able to unblock sewer on 4,144 of those blockages. Now, it's important that we also register the progress that we've made, because we made a promise that City of Tshwane administration will focus on equitable service delivery. And what we are giving you, you'll find it in informal settlements, in formalized areas, in townships, in suburbs. These areas, these services do not discriminate. We also stepping out of infrastructure development and service delivery on our efforts to build our economy and making sure that there are jobs in the city. One of the ways the city can assist a certain group of unemployed individuals is through the EPWP program. Next financial year, we're targeting to recruit 11,034 individuals into the EPWP for various programs that the city will have. We have announced to the residents where to go and register, and it's important that we say EPWP in Tshwane is independent of politicians, because everyone must register on the system, then they are selected from the database. And the process of registering is continuous, so we do encourage residents to register. We've also been focusing on SMMEs in line with our economic revitalization strategy. Just in a space of 3 months, we were able to train around 1,000 SMMEs. So there's been a concerted effort in terms of the support that we have. But also in terms of speaking of SMMEs, we also want to make an announcement that we, as part of our efforts to promote local trade and tourism, the city will host a large-scale market event at the Tshwane Event Center showgrounds in due course. We will announce the date. This initiative is part of a broader strategy to reactivate underutilized municipal assets while fostering a vibrant and inclusive local economy. This event will provide local vendors, artisans, and small businesses with a platform to showcase their goods and services to a diverse audience. The Tshwane Market Day will feature food stalls, arts and crafts, music, and business networking opportunity. So the date will be announced on that. Ladies and gentlemen, 12th to the 14th of June, we will be hosting a U20 Sherpa meeting, as well as the African Mayors Summit. We are pleased to confirm our readiness to co-host the Urban 20 Sherpa meeting in June 2025. As part of our engagements, the City of Tshwane will host an African Mayors Summit to sharpen African voices in the global conversation relating to building resilient cities and fight against climate change. This prestigious international event brings together metropolitan leaders from across the globe to deliberate on urban policy priorities ahead of the G20 summit. The logistical preparations are at an advanced stage, with venues secured, delegate protocols finalized, and intergovernmental coordination structures in place. We launched a fundraising initiative for this event. The budget of the city could not absorb the budget for this event. So instead of allocating money, we instead went the harder route of looking for sponsorship. We have confirmed sponsorship, and we continue to meet the potential sponsors in order for us to host a successful event, and we are grateful to those companies and organizations that have pledged their support so far. Now I'm moving to the last part, which is the establishment of the 3.9% Economic Growth Committee. In pursuit of sustained economic revitalization, the city has officially launched a dedicated Economic Growth Committee tasked with driving the implementation of the Ghanaian economic revitalization strategy. We want to reiterate that in 2023, the economic growth of the city was at 0.3%. We know there's potential because in 2011, this city's economic growth was growing at 6%. So the primary objective is to stimulate local economic growth and achieve an annual growth of at least 3.9% by 2029. This committee that we are establishing will be chaired by myself as the executive mayor to ensure that transversal pursuit of our growth objectives to ensure that the transversal pursuit of our economic growth objectives, and will facilitate the coordination between city departments, private sector investors, development agencies, and informal economy players to remove regulatory bottlenecks, attract investment, and promote inclusive growth. This committee will oversee initiatives in manufacturing, green economy, digital innovation, township entrepreneurship, tourism, and infrastructure development. You will remember that our economic revitalization strategy targets 10 sectors in the city. A comprehensive quarterly performance dashboard will be published to track progress against these targets. To support the work of this committee, we will be taking a report to council next Thursday.